have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Illuminati News.
Free and independent.
Here's a currently popular favorite for both American or South American popular dance lovers. Deep in a Dream, and Helen Forrest is the singer.
Astronomers estimate there could be up to 1 septillion stars in the universe.
Sweet music comes stealing, we glide through a lover's refrain. You're so appealing that I'm soon revealing my love for you over again. My cigarette burns me, I wake with a start. My hand isn't hurt, but there's pain in my heart. Awake or asleep, every memory I keep deep in a dream of you.
Welcome everybody to the Leo Zagami Show Special Edition, celebrating 20 years of Illuminati Confessions. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have once again my wife, Christy. How was your free time, Christy?
It wasn't really that free.
Well, in fact, she was working, of course, also on the newest literary sensation by Leo Zagami, and today we're gonna be talking about that as an antidote to the Spielberg Psyop movie. Okay, so first of all,
I'm very happy to be back.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, so
just a second. Aliens. Here they are. Oh, where are they? I don't know.
Invest more into this.
And why is it important? They called for whistleblowers to get immunity, to be able to speak freely, in essence. A lot of people have signed non-disclosure agreements. David Grush said he was forced to sign one of those, and that there's a much more...
Oh, everybody's talking about it. But today, guys, let me show you, because we don't yet have a book. We're going to be showing now the links. This is the cover. The title is, please, Christy, give us a title.
The Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda, Hidden Encounters, Forbidden Rituals, and Jesuit astronomers, sorry, Mari, in the age of UFO disclosure. I screwed that up. But anyway, I was talking.
Yes.
I was going to tell them something.
Tell me all about it.
I don't want to talk about the alien yet.
Okay.
No, I went away in December because, well, initially I wasn't feeling good because I had the flu. So that was the initial reason that I didn't do the show. And then, I don't know what happened, really. I just,
You were enjoying
I
your
don't
time
know.
off?
I was sitting here for a little while and like a lot of things were going wrong with President Trump and I wasn't feeling very good about it. And I didn't feel comfortable sitting in front of everyone and smiling
Yeah, let's make
anymore.
it clear. Christy was against Donald J. Trump before me because there were some comments we spotted
Yes,
of
about that.
people
They
saying,
are
"Oh,
so
Christy left
rude.
because you are now against
They are
Trump."
so rude. They are. They are so rude.
Well,
But anyway, I want to introduce some
yes.
new characters
Okay,
onto the show. So,
please.
because you brought that one out.
Uh-huh.
Wait, you know what? When you do a puppet, you have to know how to put it on.
Ah.
Oh my God,
Oh,
all your
no.
things are. Oh my God,
Okay,
everything's
first,
falling apart on this show.
okay.
And I just got back.
Okay.
All right,
So what
wait.
is this? What
When
are
you
you
have to
showing
deal with
us?
puppets, it's like this, you know.
Okay, first of all, let me put back.
You can't put it.
Yes, yes, no, okay, yes.
It's
No,
not
okay,
gonna stay.
okay, well, whatever.
Okay, wait. Oh my God, my puppet!
Okay,
Wait,
so
you have to do this correctly.
okay, so let's show the puppets. In the meantime, as Chris is taking some time and we don't really have that much time
I'm
available,
ready.
I want to show first of all the link so you can get the latest book because that's really important, I think. But Chrissy,
I'm very sorry, guys. I am out of practice, but I will get back to my professionalness. So, anyway, I'd like to introduce two new characters to the show. We haven't named one of them. One of them is called Cinderella Frisk. I wonder who she is. What does she look like?
Hello,
what do I look like?
I don't know. It look like you.
And then we have, are
Is-
you guys ready? Drum roll, pretty please.
Yeah, but
You don't need it.
we're gonna have to put-
Look! It's, did you name him yet?
it's Count Leo.
So I would like to introduce, my name is Count Leo. And I am a writer, but his arm is stuck up. I'm not a very good puppetry. I love my husband very much.
Well, you should put back his,
That's his Masonic thing, but he refuses to wear it.
Well, I'm gonna have to fix it.
Don't they look cool? Hello, everyone.
Okay.
This is my wife.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sure everybody doesn't want to explain this now. They're like, gee, the wife comes back and the show falls apart.
No, absolutely not. She's the life of the party. And ladies and gentlemen, here we are with my new book. This is a very important and relevant topic. And I will explain you how I came to write this book, which is very important, like I said, for the times we are living, because everybody thinks they know it all about ufology, about disclosure, this and that, but in reality they don't know half of it. And my new book, which of course has an introduction that Christy might be able to read for us. So here we are.
Okay. With UAP disclosure becoming mainstream, Leo Zagami breaks down the religious and occult implications in the Vatican's top secret alien agenda. This work exposes the Vatican's hidden long-term knowledge of extraterrestrial life and for the first time reveals its secret UFO agenda, which has been managed by the Jesuits since the 1950s and threatens to reshape our deepest religious beliefs well beyond the boundaries of the Catholic faith. With disclosure imminent, this book addresses the deep rift in Christian thought. The author navigates between navigates between the Jesuit-influenced Catholic view of extraterrestrials as marvelous creations and the evangelical and orthodox perspective that these beings are, in fact, demonic agents of a looming spiritual war. Discover the shocking truth behind groundbreaking events such as the 1933 Magenta UFO crash and other secret files buried in the Vatican archives. With Pope Leo, the what?
Pope Leo the 14th.
The 14th, returning to Castel Gandolfo, the legendary site of, you just moved it and I can't read it anymore.
Okay, great. So here we are.
Legendary site of 1961 extraterrestrial meeting that may have influenced the Second Vatican Council. The line between ancient tradition, Rosicrucian thought, and modern UAP disclosure is beginning to blur in one of the most consequential books for one of the most consequential times in history.
And this book is available in both paperback format here in the United States for $20, as well as hardcover for $28 and Kindle for $9. This price is, of course, limited for a few weeks. Usually we make this like a new tradition that we have established with the rise and fall of Frankist Monster. So if you want to purchase your copy now, that's actually a good thing, because you're going to save some money. In a few weeks, the price is going to go up. So we're going to make less money at the beginning, because our interest at the moment is mainly to spread this book. And the purpose of spreading this book is that we have first of all, it's very hot here in Palm Springs. Let me tell you, it's really, I don't know. We are here, me with a jacket. I don't know if I can.
I think you made this red light too much and it's shining right on me.
Okay, so first of all, there has been a movie. We, of course, went and see the preview of this film, Disclosure Day. For people who have high expectancies about this Hollywood blockbuster, is nothing more than a Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, it's a great film to entertain, you know, your kids, to entertain yourself, because actually it was just like going back to the good old Spielberg from the 70s and 80s that we all learned to appreciate. But in regards to his own agenda, well, of course, is in line with the Jesuit agenda. So the book that is shown is my latest book. It just came out. It's also a book that discusses these topics that we are, of course, presenting to you today. There is an article you can find at leozagami.com. But now let me explain you in very much in detail the relevance and importance of this book, because UAP disclosure is no longer fringe theory. It's a mainstream news these days. Governments are finally coming out with some information, especially here in the US. We heard a lot about it since Trump has started with this UAP dumps every few weeks. We have also other countries like Brazil who have confirmed direct experiences, encounters of the third kind. Those are the very direct ones. My new book, though, wants to show you that behind all this disclosure, behind the various David Grush of the situation, Luis Elizondo, behind all these people, there is the long hand of the Vatican that is being involved with various races, if you want to call them, of aliens for a long time. There has been actually popes who had encounters of the second kind, but also popes who had encounters of the third kind, which means a direct encounter with what you will define as an alien being. Now, I will, of course, suggest people to go on leozagami.com. They can find the most detailed article on my latest book. But remember, we are not giving out here a book which is basically a very big book. I mean, just to give you an example, we don't have yet in our hands the book, but I can show you how big it is. The hardcover is exactly like volume 7. And see how many pages is this? Now, this instead the flexible, and it's going to be just like volume 7.
460.
This, how much is this?
It's, let's see. This one is 467.
Okay. Now, a very important thing in this book, you know, a lot of people like David Icke, for example, has been reviewing the film, and other colleagues like Alex Jones and so on. But nobody has actually made a book as an antidote to what Spielberg is pushing, because very few people know that, for example, the screenplay of Disclosure Day is written by a Catholic Jesuit agent. And very few people also know the various differences, nuances between the theological approach of certain evangelicals, certain Catholics, traditionals, rather than progressive, Orthodox. The Orthodox Russians, for example, have an interdimensional point of view on the aliens that sees them as demonic, like the late Father Seraphim Rose. But then we have also the Young, which we have seen with what's his name, with Tucker Carlson, who has instead a different perspective, a more tangible, materialistic perspective, like some evangelical, also like Timothy Alberino has a different, for example, perspective from the mainstream evangelical. So all these different Christian confessions have different theological approaches, and I have taken this very seriously because this book is unique. It demonstrates that there is a link between the remote viewing Stargate project here in the US, the one in Russia, and the one in China. And for the first time, I actually published documents which expose all this. We have a first-hand testimony of people who work with the Lieutenant Colonel Savin in Moscow, or other people who are direct contact with Cardinal Parolin, who is actually the Secretary of State of the Vatican, who is in complete state of panic about the situation. And just to make it very clear, they are preparing something very big in the Vatican. And in fact, one of the biggest gatekeepers just a few weeks ago here in 20 minutes from where we live, at Contact in the Desert, he confirmed this. So I want to be clear. I appreciate, for example, what David Icke has said. This is, in a nutshell, his thought on the movie. Then we're going to proceed, and we're going to show also Daniel Sheeran, which is this guy in Contact in the Desert, which has confirmed something which, of course, makes my book even more relevant.
Spielberg movie basically presents those trying to suppress the disclosure as the bad guys. If there was an alien threat, you could justify the centralization of global power to meet the threat. And you can also allow the acceptance of a non-human force to infiltrate it openly while being presented as a benevolent force that's just come along at the right time to save humanity from itself. What they won't tell you, it's the non-human force that's been manipulating humanity and through the global cult manipulating events to bring about where we are now.
So this is, of course, a very good take from David Icke, a very dramatic one, but actually a very realistic one. But in my book, we dig really deeper because we show who are, people talk about Dr. Al Puthoff, the head of Stargate, or other people like Dr. Davis, astrophysicist, or people like the theologian Professor Pasulka. Well, I have dug very deep, guys. I found the evidence that the Jesuits are really with their hands on the whole narrative. So you better get your copy now. And in the meantime, let me introduce you for the next 20 minutes a guy who has made this possible. Because you see, without the CUN, which is the Centro Ufologico Nazionale, which is the ufologic national center in Italy, with over 60 years of experience in this field. It was actually founded 60 years ago, but it was developed in the years preceding that. So in 1966, they basically launched this ufologic center. It was Roberto Pinotti Pinotti, Roberto Pinotti, guys, is a very, very important figure in this book because he has helped me with a lot of information. Then we had also another guy, Alfredo Rissoni, who was able to dig deep in the Vatican archives, both the Vatican Apostolic Library as well as the former Vatican Secret Archive, which is now the Vatican Apostolic Archive. These are places where nobody can go in. Then we had also the help of Vladimiro Bibolotti from CIFAS, who is involved with Kuhn in the only ufologic conferences by the laity inside the Vatican for a long time. They started in the early 2000s. So, I mean, can you please pick me up those two books, Christine?
Yeah.
I want to explain the importance of this book to the English-speaking public. You see, Roberto Pinotti has made a book, UFO in the Vatican, but it's not in English. Nobody can read it. Alfredo Rissoni has made a book many years ago about the secret archives and the secret, all the various dossiers that he formulated as a professor of religion who was capable of accessing the Vatican secret archives. So we are talking here about some really big stuff. At one point, you will be left kind of shocked by what you see in my book, because Christy,
Well, yeah.
well, you were shocked. So first of all, Christy, your experience with my book and then your experience with Steven Spielberg.
Okay, so the book was pretty wow. I learned things I didn't know. It's incredible. You guys have to read it for yourself. The encounter of the third kind was really, really incredible.
Which
that you
encounter?
had.
It's very
You had, but there's a bunch of other ones in there, like some popes had, and I can't say, but it's like really something else. The people that have gone to meet with aliens, and you wouldn't even imagine that that was happening. I mean, at least I didn't. I didn't know. It doesn't really change me as a person that these things are happening, but they happen. They're happening. It's just incredible that that's going on. I watched X-Files, so I mean, I know about this stuff. It's not like I'm stupid, you know.
But I mean, it really prepared you to watch Spielberg with a different eye, because then you saw that they were kind of pushing it.
I could have just, I mean, I read your book and it was like, now I understand like what they were doing, like what they were actually, like the plot of the movie, I wouldn't have been able to understand without reading your book. Like I understood a lot, like of what they were doing, like just the insidious stuff.
Well,
you know,
you have
all of this. And like you
remote
see
viewing.
things and it's like, oh, okay, that's because of that. And that's because of that. Like you have this knowledge about it, like that makes you feel, I don't know, I didn't feel bad. I felt better that I knew these things about it. Like I wasn't scared or anything because I had this knowledge. But I mean, if you want me to review the disclosure, I mean,
the movie.
Yeah.
Let's separate the review of the disclosure from my book, because of course my book is a serious book. Disclosure is entertainment, but it's very important to understand that my book is finally lifting the veil on who controls ufology. I was talking to you about the Contact in the Desert and that guy who has basically revealed and confirmed who is behind the scene controlling everything. Let me show it. Let me show it so you can have a clear idea here, because of course we are really going against some very powerful people by revealing how these various so-called disclosure advocates are operating, because they are absolutely operating in a way that it's preparing for their own disclosure, and it's not, of course, the disclosure that we had in mind. It's a disclosure that is very calculated, no, Christy?
Yeah.
And the thing also that people don't imagine is that they have been while everybody here, especially in the evangelical world, is kind of like scared and, they are confused. And at the same time, you have the politicians coming out this week on the footstep of the Capitol Hill with their own disclosure efforts, which is all a charade. What I'm showing you in this book is who is really piloting, who is controlling this whole disclosure, from the first TikTok video that was then launched with an article on the New York Times and the sudden appearance of Luis Elizondo, to Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp. Or guys, please get yourself a copy. Don't be cheap. This is not a moment, I understand that, these people who might, think a book, maybe I can just listen to Leo, listen to Christy, make my mind up on what is written on it. We are not disclosing one single thing today on what is written in this book, because this book is worth studying. Now, before moving forward, let me pause for a second, because we want to sort out a couple of things. Okay, so technical problem sorted. Let me go into what we have discussed a moment ago. We have that video that I wanted to show you about contact in the desert, which is relevant and important. But I think that first of all, I would like to introduce Roberto Pinotti to my English-speaking audience, because he's the guy who made this book possible. So enjoy the next 20 minutes. This is only a small part of a much larger interview, which is included at the end of the book. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of my most illustrious guests to date, my old friend Roberto Pinotti. 60 years in the UFO world, 60 years trying to report about what is now known as UAP. And of course, he's the founder, also co-founder of CUN, which is the Centro Ufologico Nazionale. Yes, Roberto?
That's correct.
And Roberto has been also many times here in the United States of America. He has also, I think in 2013, participated to an event in Washington, D.C.
That's correct, with the citizens' hearing on disclosure.
So here we have somebody who is a real pioneer, somebody who has been a real pioneer in so many things regarding UFO disclosure. It will be way too much to probably disclose them all, but mainly he was behind the creation of that connection between the Blessed Virgin Mary and UFO or UAP phenomena, no? And of course, we have also his involvement in the so-called Mussolini UFO, which then was picked up by David Grush. And of course, now Roberto is a figure which is known in the UFO scene worldwide. So it's a great honor to have you here, Roberto. I've been reading your books for years. We have also collaborated together in various forms, and we have also done some conferences together. Okay, so my first question to you, the surveys that in the past discussed this theme. The service by Victoria Alexander and Ted Peters, known as the Peters E.T. Religious Crisis Survey. These are two historical sociological studies aimed at refuting the idea that the discovery of an extraterrestrial civilization will cause the collapse of religious faith. Both have shown that most people would accept the news without any crisis of faith. What idea have you formed about their results, Roberto?
Well, frankly, I must underline that this is an old idea. In fact, Carl Gustav Jung was the guy who tried to face what would have been the feedback of the general public in confronting the idea of extraterrestrial presences. Well, today, frankly, I think that probably what they say is correct. I don't see too many danger in this sense, because if we consider that in the USA, the 75% thinks that UFOs do exist. The 33% say that they are aliens. And also the 70% in the United States say that the government knows everything, but of course is lying about this subject. In Italy, we may say that the 51% accept extraterrestrial life, and the 61%, they are young people, and this is extremely important. Not only, but in Italy, about the 20% of the people think that the aliens are already here. And the young people, mainly, the 30% about, is exactly thinking this. For just a curiosity, the 7% of Italians thinks that they really saw a UFO. All this shows that the general public is really ready to accept all this. So the problem is, but as far as religion is concerned, what would be the reaction? Well, in Italy, although of course Italians are Catholic, there is a very positive and practical way of thinking. So nobody is taking care of what this has to do with religion, because one thing the general public thinks.
So let's say it's a very secularized society.
Exactly. But if you see also other European countries are in this same situation. France, for instance, the United Kingdom too. Frankly, I think that there is something to be said about Latin America. Latin America is quite open to extraterrestrial life, always. Imagine, for instance, that in Latin American countries, we have incredible results, because, for instance, in Chile, the majority of people thinks that not only that UFO exists, but that extraterrestrials are here. So probably it's also a question of mentality, no? And I think that
there seems to be two emerging factions here. The more evangelical inclined faction, though, that demonizes the ETs, while instead we have the Catholic world that has been preparing through various theologians for a very long time. I actually have a video of David Grush that recently talked about not jumping to conclusions regarding their nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The problem is that surely we have different positions from the religious point of view. You know that Baptists, evangelicals, Pentecostals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and even the Oriental Orthodox Christians, well, they think that possible aliens could only be demons. On the contrary, Catholics, Lutherans, Methodists, and Mormons simply think that there are maybe other creatures in the universe, and so they consider them probably something not too different from human beings. So you see that there are different positions, absolutely. From this point of view, Catholics are are very free if we make a comparison with the other churches. You understand?
However, it wasn't always like this, and not all Catholics seem to have still to this day the same position, because I also saw that there were some members of the clergy as well as some laicity that were implying.
Of course, one thing is the Christian word, another thing is the curia. Of course.
Okay, the clergy, yes, you mean the different. However, I noticed with surprise the other day that there was a nun who had written about Disclosure Day of Steven Spielberg, denouncing the possibility that this movie could be used to manipulate the public opinion, and also warning about the dangers of extraterrestrial intelligence, as they could be, of course, demons. While instead we had the late Paul Tigman, who wrote this book, Extraterrestrial Intelligence and the Catholic Faith, who instead claimed that they were angels. So here we have some very different positions.
Consider that, for instance, that, for example, that Barry Downing, Reverend Barry Downing, wrote a book many years ago, and he simply says that, okay, angels are simply extraterrestrials, and Christ is an extraterrestrial. So this was...
Roberto, you might have your phone open, because I hear sometimes the noise. If you can maybe silence the alarm on it, or so we don't get it on the recording. No worries. It was just okay. In 2015, 2016, you traveled to Moscow several times. And you said you also met a representative of the Vatican during one of your visits. You later confirmed to me that, of course, it was Monsignor Gianfranco Basti. However, can you tell us more about Lieutenant General Alexei Yurevich Savin, this prominent figure that you also in your publication here, UFO and Vaticano, said is a very interesting guy, and who did some very interesting work with a unit called 10,003, I think. This unit is said to have made contact with these entities, which according to him not only exist but have provided scientific and philosophical information. So what is true about all of this, and what kind of entities are we talking about?
Of course, you know that in the United States we had Project Stargate with the remote viewers and so on. In Russia, it's the same, and Savin had to do with all this. Well, according to him, the psychic contact with extraterrestrial entities was positive in Russia, but of course the problem was limited only to philosophical information, and not to practical information. That is something which could be, which would have the effect of having something to do with weapons and something like this. You understand? Okay. Of course. So he said also that in 19...
you managed to actually meet with him personally.
Yeah. He also said that in 1989 there was the attempt of a direct contact between the chief of the Russian state in that period, that is Gorbachev, and extraterrestrials. This encounter would have had to take place in Central Asia, but it was a failure because the extraterrestrials could have given certain protocols to be respected. And at the very last moment, some of these protocols were not respected. So nothing happened.
Do you have any idea what those protocols were?
He told me that the Russians wanted to control the visitors in the final phase of the contact. And of course, this could not be accepted.
Okay.
You understand?
So we're talking here about a physical contact, not psychic contact.
Yeah. They wanted they to remain here.
Okay.
You understand that it was not the case.
Now, what was the involvement of Monsignor Gianfranco Basti, which we just cited, and Father José Gabriel Funes? We are digging deep, guys. I repeat, you want to get this information, you're going to only get it in my book. There's no other book in the English language that talks about the Vatican secret agenda, which is the most relevant and important one, because they are the ones who are controlling the whole disclosure, the military-industrial complex, even the ufology movement. What I'm about to show you confirms it, and once and for all, you can finally understand who is pulling the strings. Now, like we said earlier, there is being contact in the desert, and this guy here is called Daniel Sheehan. He is a former Jesuit novitiate who for many years has been also involved in the so-called disclosure. But what I'm about to show you confirms everything relevant in my book, and it's important, I think, that people clear their minds up, when they go to these so-called ufology events like Contact in the Desert. Christy, that was the first experience you had, and we're going to be discussing it in a moment. But first of all, for all of the people who are tuned in, check out what he says. Check out what he says, how he replies to this question.
Will support the project, the New Paradigm Institute, by becoming a member of the Citizens for Disclosure. You'll be getting regular weekly reports of what the progress is that we're making.
Now that the government has released these documents, what is Vatican's next step in disclosure, especially as you implied theological implications?
We're going to find that out. I'm hoping to I've been invited to come to Castel Gandolfo for a meeting there with Leo the 14th. I mentioned earlier that he took the name of Leo the 14th because Leo the 13th is the Pope who established the Papal Observatory. And also is the Pope who set up a thing called the Leonese Council that actually published a whole series of white papers on the relationship of human consciousness to spirituality.
So, you understand? This is the guy who is the personal lawyer of Luis Elizondo. This is the guy who is the personal lawyer of another infamous gatekeeper, Steve Greer. When I saw Stephen Greer, yes, he's the guy who basically criticized Band's take on the aliens.
Well, Trump just posted an AI picture of an alien in chains being walked with a bunch of military. Is there any significance to this, or is he just trolling at this point?
Yeah, he tends to bring up serious things in a funny way to sort of troll it, but I heard last night from a senior member of Congress who was very upset by that, and it's a member of his own party, because he felt that he's going to step into the same mistake that the governor of Arizona made when he mocked the whole alien thing after the Phoenix Lights in 1993. if you would look back in history at that event. I was there when that happened, by the way. It was right above me. And it was a CE5 contact. That's what the other thing people don't know. But so, you know, and that governor since came out and apologized for ridiculing it that way, because later he realized it was all very real and very serious, and the implications are very serious. So I think that, but at the same time, you know, the president likes to joke and likes to do outrageous things and kind of also sort of get people's goat, you know, and create controversy. It's something he enjoys doing. So I don't take it too seriously, but I did hear from a member of Congress last night who was less than amused by it. But I said, look, it's just par for the course with Mr. Trump. So
well, speaking of the president, the vice president, J.D. Vance, referred to aliens as demons, and you actually commented about this.
Yeah, he was on the Benny Johnson show. It's a podcaster out of Tampa who's good friends with the vice president, and I was on 1 week later and sort of explained how dangerous that comment is. The other problem is there are members of Congress.
Whoa, how dangerous that comment is. This guy is totally in line with the Diocese of Washington, which has just kicked out a exorcist because he said that aliens were demons. Now, I want to make it clear, in my book, I'm not taking a specific stand on this issue, if not by personal experience, when it comes down at least to one, you know, possible, because I mean, the thing is, of course, there is going to be a reflection of good and evil in the universe. Of course, there is going to be different races, some demonic, some angelic. There is going to also be the whole fallen angel issue. But what was my intention in this book? I think Christy understood it when she has, I mean, is the only one who has read this book up until now. So how do you think I approached in the book this subject?
Just very neutrally, just from an information standpoint, not an opinionated standpoint.
But for example, when it comes to Stephen Greer, I showed that the guy even slept in the Vatican, guys. He slept on St. Peter's Square. He was guested inside the Vatican, Stephen Greer. Just to give you an idea, guys, who is pulling the strings. And one of the main people who really was behind a lot of these then future gatekeepers, not gatekeepers. When you're talking about the Vatican, you have to specify, because the Vatican is a little bit Vatican. But in any case, that guy, aside from what we have seen at Contra in the desert, that guy is a disciple of this late figure who used to direct the Specula Vaticana. His name, Father Coyne. Father Coyne. This is a very I mean, Father Coyne was typical Jesuit Machiavellic behavior. He will come to America and say and preach, believe in the aliens, wanting to baptize the alien. He's the one who inspired later on Guy Consolmagno. But when he goes to Italy and he will talk with people like Piero Angelo Quark, he basically will say, no, we don't discuss certain things in the Catholic Church. So this to explain you how manipulative these people are. And of course, he's the one behind the construction of the observatory on Mount Graham, which later gave birth with the consortium, the general to Lucifer, Lucy 1, Lucy 2. Guys, this is really big stuff. I have a very rare document that involves Father Coyne in a presentation he did a long time ago, because he's not been with us for a while, just to show you what kind of reflections he made when it came down to the potential alien reality, which he, of course, knew it existed.
don't know how many of you saw the motion picture Contact, Carl Sagan's novel about the discovery, the exploration of extraterrestrial life, extraterrestrial intelligence. The core of that movie, at least from my perspective, and I'm not going to do a Siskel and Ebert thing here, but from my perspective, that was a wonderful look at the conflicts, in particular, that one person had between belief system and science. Jodie Foster, who played the role, just a wonderful film. I must have seen it 5 times, and I would love to see it again. Just a terrific film, and it really gave me a perspective about how we as humans perform this battle inside of our heads and inside of our hearts. Well, tonight's speaker has a wonderfully rich background in both science and theology. George Coyne received his bachelor's degree in mathematics and his licentiate in philosophy from Fordham University in 1958, and his doctorate in astronomy from Georgetown University in 1962. 3 years later, he was ordained a Roman Catholic priest. He joined the Vatican Observatory as an astronomer in 1969, and the following year became assistant professor at the University of Arizona's Lunar and Planetary Laboratory. In 1978, Coyne became director of the Vatican Observatory, as well as associate director of the University of Arizona's Stewart Observatory. As director of the Vatican Observatory, he's been a driving force in several new educational and research initiatives. He now spends about 5 months a year in Tucson as an adjunct professor at the University of Arizona's Astronomy Department. Coyne's research to date has included studies of the interstellar medium, stars with extended atmospheres, Seyfert galaxies, and cataclysmic binary stars. One of his current research interests, which relates somewhat to our topic this evening, is a search for disks of dust and gas surrounding very young stars, disks that might signal the birth of planetary systems among the stars. Please join me in welcoming our very distinguished guest this evening, Father George Coyne.
Now, Father George Coyne, like I said, has not been around for a while. This lecture he made in San Diego in the year 2000, though, is historic. It proves how well prepared they are, especially because maybe you didn't know, but both Coyne and then Solmania, they all are permanent in the council that directs SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. In my book, I explain how Father Coyne pushed for that whole astronomical monstrosity which was established in Mount Graham. Not to be confused, though, with Lucifer, though actually there is evidence that the Vatican is involved also with Lucifer, which is the infrared device that then is used on the telescopes. Anyway, guys, we are talking today about my new book, a book which is groundbreaking, which includes a lot of documentation. And when I talk about documentation, I talk about documentation that shows that the first UFO crash wasn't in Roswell, but was a long time before, in 1933, in Italy, in northern Italy, and then this UFO was retrieved and brought later on to the United States and joined, of course, all those various UFOs that then will be used for reverse engineering. Because the big problem here, guys, is the reverse engineering, and the Vatican is involved in this cover-up, the cover-up of the legacy program. And this is a very important, and it's also a very delicate subject, of course. So let me show you, first of all, Roberto Pinotti. You have seen him earlier with me. This is him with Corrado Balducci, who was very outspoken about the extraterrestrial reality. But he wasn't a Jesuit, but he was directed by the Jesuits and, of course, directed by Father Coyne, who we will now check out.
This is only water, folks, I promise. I'll take care of it afterwards. When Dennis invited me to this, I appreciated that it would involve a little bit of work to try and organize this talk. And work is not my great forte. You know, I work for the Vatican and in Italy, and work means a different thing there than it does to we Americans, you know. In fact, when I first went over there, Pope John the 23rd, you know, he was the roly-poly, very jolly Pope who opened the windows of the church, by the way. He's the one that called the Ecumenical Council, the Second Vatican Council. Well, Pope John is elected Pope, and he comes from Venice. Well, to the people in Rome and places like that, Venice is a beautiful city, the opening to the Orient, etc. But to them, it's a little country town up there in northern Italy, you know. And Pope John had not grown up in the Vatican as most popes have. You know, he didn't move up through the government system, so to speak, so he didn't know a great deal about the Vatican. But journalists always ask the most important questions first, so they say, Your Holiness, how many windows in the Papal Palace? Well, he didn't know, but they say, how many people work in the Vatican? Well, he didn't know that either. He'd only been there 2 weeks. But he did have an answer. He said, how many people work in the Vatican? He said, about half. And then he topped that one off. I'm going to get more serious in a moment, but let me finish this. He topped that one off by the Queen of England. Queen Elizabeth was coming over for a state visit. And there was no channel in those, there was no channel tunnel in those days, etc. So she's coming across by boat and talking to her advisors and getting ready for this meeting with the Pope. And she says, I heard that they don't work in the Vatican in the afternoon. Well, her advisors say, yes, Your Highness, that's true. And as a matter of fact, our staff come at 7 a.m. and at 2 p.m. they go off and have spaghetti and wine and sleep and play tennis and whatever. So she says, my goodness, all the problems we're already having in Britain with, shorter work week, more benefits. I mean, the prestige of the Vatican, if the word gets back that they don't work in the afternoon, I mean, we're in trouble. Do you think I could talk to the Pope about this? Well, of course, Your Highness, that's why you're going, but do it delicately, So they're having their one-on-one conversation, and she finally gets up the courage, and she says, Your Holiness, I've heard that they don't work in the Vatican in the afternoon. And John the 23rd looks at her and he says, Your Supreme Highness, that's not true at all. They don't work in the morning. They don't come in the afternoon. So that's why when Dennis asked me to come here, I knew I'd have to overcome this fear of work. But I have tried to organize what I call a little trip for you.
Now, like I said in my book, don't get deceived by his charming ways. No, Father Coyne was very charming. Now, it's very important, guys, because Father Coyne picked up from John the 23rd, who had a direct encounter in Castel Gandolfo. Now Pope Leo is back in Castel Gandolfo, and my book explains everything that is going on around the return of Pope Leo XIV in Castel Gandolfo. My book is out now. You can, of course, purchase it through Amazon. Let me now show you where you can get it. Of course, depending on which country you are, you go on Amazon UK, Amazon Australia, Amazon Sweden, Amazon.com if you are here in the United States. But I tell you guys, you will not regret getting this book because the information in it is unique to this book. It's not like information you can get somewhere else. Absolutely. In the English-speaking world, there has been no relevant books on the Vatican involvement with UFOs. And if you go and see the documentary, The Age of Disclosure, they openly say in the documentary that the Vatican knows the secrets. It's the only one that knows the full meal deal about aliens and about the UFOs. Now, to put it only in very simplistic terms and say they're all demons is very simplistic. Okay? Let's dig a little bit deeper. Just don't be like superficial. I know it all because I seen it on the internet. What is he saying, Count Leo? What is he saying? Is he agreeing with me? He seems so. Make him talk. Count Leo, what do you think about my new book?
I think you better thank the sponsors.
Who are the sponsors of today, Christy?
Hi!
Who are the sponsors? What?
Daniel Estes.
Okay.
And Kay Balan.
Oh.
And Silvert Hegstead. And Hyo Uzumaki. And he wrote me a poem. But we're not reading it today, are we?
Yes, a poem for both of us for the publication of this book. We should read it, but I mean...
And hello, everybody. Hello, I'm back.
Christy's back.
Thanks for saying hi. I didn't know if anybody missed me or not.
Let's go back into Father George Coyne.
It's a journey. It really is a journey. It's a strange kind of journey because it's a journey out into space. And the journey out into space is intended to provoke in you and in me, as a matter of fact, some, at least to my satisfaction to today, some unanswerable questions which seem to go beyond the realm of science, seem to, whether they actually do is something that I leave to your judgment and that of others. But the journey has that purpose, to kind of provoke some questions that may go beyond what science can actually answer. And so let's begin that journey. I'm going to do it actually with a series of slides. And I know when I was a child and learning how to fish, never did succeed very well, but I did learn some tricks from my grandfather as to how to put the bait on. And so I've always found it helpful when I want to do something like this to look back. What did the people in the past think about the things we think about today? Even if they didn't think correctly according to what we know today, their approach to things is always helpful for us. So I'm going to go way back to about 5,000 to 6,000 years before the birth of Christ. Okay, this is well before the prophet Abraham to locate it. Okay, in the age of the universe, as you'll see in a moment, it's not very long, but it's Stonehenge. It's a megalithic monument in the plains, the Salisbury Plains of Great Britain. And the reason I show it is because our ancestors saw here, they placed here these rocks in certain positions so that they could observe the sky. This is an observatory. It's a very primitive observatory, but it's well known the alignment of these rocks is such that they would study when does the sun rise at the beginning of spring, how high does the sun...
So George Coyne, charming guy, but in reality a great manipulator of the Vatican disclosure, a great manipulator of the truths the Vatican has been holding, including even the most shocking finding that was made in the 90s, Nagristi, that skull of an alien that was allegedly found in the Vatican archive. Well, you can go and check it for yourself in my book, but regarding what I've been just showing you, of course, you know, he's presenting himself very well in a very distinguished way, but Father Coyne was the great manipulator. He was the great instigator of Mount Graham. He was the mentor of Brother Guy Consolmagno, who is at the moment the former director of the Specula, but is director of the foundation of the Vatican Observatory. And we have also Father Sosa, who is the present new director. Now, there is other things which I've discussed with Roberto Pinotti. The full interview, of course, you find in my new book. Some people have asked me what they think about the Ethiopian Orthodox. All that is actually disclosed in my book, because it's not only about the Catholics, it's about the Orthodox, about the various aspects of the Orthodox faith, about the Ethiopian, of course. Then we are discussing also inevitably the book of Enoch. But let's go back to Roberto Pinotti, the previous director of the Spegola Vaticana in the project of the International Organization for the Destinies of the World, and what happened to the project itself after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which began on February 24, 2022, which of course, because in my book there is also information about that secret project that the Jesuits were putting together with the Russians before the whole war and conflict, no?
I know.
People don't know about that, and they even wanted to recruit Pinotti as a remote viewer. Wow. Of course, marked a definitive break with the West.
Well, their role was extremely interesting and important, but frankly, this project at present was stopped because the geopolitical events created big problems. And today, Russia has surely a different agenda on this field, you understand? This is the answer.
So let's say it's been put on pause.
Excuse me?
It's been put on pause, let's say. It was paused, this organization, but is it been closed permanently or put
Frankly,
on pause?
I think it was not closed. It's a sort of dormant situation.
For those who are following us, what are we talking about? Well, we are talking about a big deal, guys, because in my book, we also disclose the secrets of Sepka, the secret Soviet program, and also the present program under Vladimir Putin, which works with this gentleman, which was with Roberto Pinotti. I'm talking about Lieutenant Colonel Savin. No? Let me show this guy. I mean, people will think that this book is only, about some Vatican shenanigans. Well, that is your own loss if you don't read this book.
People don't think that.
Well, this is Roberto Pinotti with the head of the Russian Soviet and then the Russian Federation remote viewers, the former Lieutenant Colonel Savin, who then became Professor Savin, and this is a big deal, guys, because they were involved with the Academy of the Illuminati, Pier Giorgio Bassi, which Christie personally met. And, of course, these are all connected with Cardinal Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State. Okay, perfect. Now, thank you for your very honest answer about this topic, which I think also brought some kind of controversy towards the work of Father Funes, who was then forced into leaving his job 1 year earlier, because usually they have a 10-year term.
Probably he said certain things not in a proper way.
Okay.
According to certain guys.
That's very helpful to understand that. Now, I have here question number 5, which I'm trying to see if it printed out correctly. Actually, no, question number 4, which is, let me see here. Sorry for. Okay. Well, guys, you want to read that answer and that question in my book, because there is many more. And my book is basically the follow-up to my first book on this topic, Invisible Master, The Puppeteer's Hidden Power. And I tell you, this beats even the Invisible Master, and because it's actually digging so deep, guys. At one point, I'm even revealing my own previously classified encounter of the third kind. But let me simply summarize what my book is about, so you have a very clear idea. So, chapter 1 exposes the Catholic evocation, paper magic, and the Vatican UFO gatekeepers, revealing whether demons and angels are warming up for Disclosure Day, the role of the P2 Lodge, Cagliostro's ET legacies, and Zacharias Sitchin's hidden collaboration with Vatican interests. Chapter 2 shows how the Jesuits have twisted and controlled the UAP narrative for centuries, from Giordano Bruno to secret conference at St. Anne's Gate, connection to the Esalen Institute here in California, and a mysterious Jesuit booklet, which nobody has ever seen, that promotes aliens as saviors of mankind. And you have the link in my book, so you can actually retrieve it. Then chapter 3 goes deep, but really deep, in the sense, literally deep, because hence the secret hidden in the Vatican archives, including the Alfredo Lissoni files, thanks to Alfredo Lissoni, who is a member of the CUN, the Centro Ufologico Nazionale, the National Ufologic Center in Italy. We are able to show you some very incredible stuff. Then we have papal encounters of the second and third kind. And the way those testimonies came to light is also rather interesting, with a member of the P2 who wrote them down regarding the third kind, the encounter of the third kind that happened in 1961 in Castel Gandolfo. Father Funes, which we have just debated, then the Soviet Setka, sorry, I said Sepka before, Setka operations, and then the Jesuits, astronomers, and the links to the UFO task force in China. Then chapter 4 focuses on Castel Gandolfo itself, this place that became the Vatican Observatory before they moved the actual telescope to Mount Graham because of the light pollution. But they still have the headquarters in Castel Gandolfo, connected to all the various telescopes in the world. That's why the new Pope has moved back there after the previous Pope has had declared it a museum 10 years ago. And then we have, of course, apart from the 1961 encounter of the third kind, the deceptive roles of people like Father Coyne, the current Vatican Observatory Foundation President Brother Consolmagno, and then, of course, chapter 5, the end, the build-up, and you get to the end of the book, and it delivers the most explosive material. The undeniable link between the Marian apparition, the so-called Blessed Virgin Mary visions, miracles, the parapsychological. The Vatican has had for a long time in the university a paranormology section. They teach what is known as paranormology. And that links directly with Dr. Hal Puthoff, then Father Resch, who just died earlier this year, who used to prepare the Vatican clergy for the encounter with extraterrestrial intelligence. And, of course, it ends up with the interview, the entire interview with Roberto Pinotti, which is a very long interview, which we have. So, guys, what are you waiting for? I mean, here we are talking about really some big I don't see other books that are bringing new things on the table, sincerely. I mean, even this documentary is made by these so-called disclosure advocates. They're all manipulated by the Vatican, all of them.
Well, you're not.
No.
We got kicked out of Italy for it.
Of course. And then you have also all these various, evangelical pastors who suddenly, panic because of the situation. And then we have a guy like David Grush, who is a Jesuit agent and a Catholic.
News, you're seeing a lot of talk about demons, and other things like that. The Vice President Vance has mentioned that. My friend, Tucker Carlson has also said that too. And I've had private conversations with him about that. And I do want to address that really quickly, both as an intel officer, a guy who studied physics, a practicing Roman Catholic like Secretary Rubio and Vice President Vance. I respect those views of spirituality and demonic deception, and I think we should be concerned about that. But I think it's theologically premature without knowing everything, equating everything to demons, because God has created this wonderful, visible and invisible order. He's created humans, animals, angels, and other types of non-human intelligence. And I don't think us as humans, we understand all of God's creation to kind of use a theological kind of framework on that. And I think that everybody needs to keep that in mind, to be respectful of that. And the Catholic Church certainly has a long history in this. And there are Catholic theologians like the late Dr. Paul Thigpen, Dr. Diana Pasulka at University of North Carolina.
All these people that he's mentioning are all gatekeepers. Professor Pasulka was actually put a thing on and brought into a secret location in New Mexico where she was shown UFOs. I mean, they're all Vatican shields. Contacting the desert guy was full this year of Vatican shields. It was disgusting. That's why I didn't want to go there. You want to know the truth, Brad Olson? You want to know the truth, rest of the world? I didn't go there because it sucks. Jesuits, that place, and all those fake disclosure advocates. You are being brainwashed. Read my book and put it in your head that you're being brainwashed once and for all, because I had enough of your bullshit. Okay?
Really?
You want to hear the truth? Read it in my new book.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you want half-truths from people like Jacques Vallée. Jacques Vallée works for the Legacy program. Yes, guys, the Legacy program. Because in the end, and there was also present at Contact in the Desert, Davis, also involved with the Legacy program. So here we are talking about people. I don't want to say rude things.
Well, then don't.
Yes, I'm not going to say rude things.
Don't say them.
Don't say rude things, okay?
Don't say them. You don't need to.
No, I don't need to say rude things.
No, you
but
don't.
These people like this woman, Professor Pasulka, she is a Jesuit shill. She was actually invited in Castel Gandolfo by Brother Consul Magno, and she had access to the Vatican archives because she's involved with the Jesuits. Okay? And now I'm going to show you something else, a document, a very important document, which also involves what I've been talking about. These are, if you want to really know what's going on, read my book, because in my book, I show you also everything regarding the Faculty of Paranormology, which is also previously classified by the CIA. This is stuff where you have, of course, all these links to parapsychology and religion, and these are documents that were previously classified from the CIA that involved what I'm discussing here. Okay? Regarding the present state of the disclosure, the half-assed disclosure that Trump and his minions are putting together is, of course, part of this whole, deception, because the Legacy program has two main actors, the CIA, of course, but you have also the Department of Energy that have, after the Manhattan Project, this became the most important project. And who you think controls all of this? They go on TV every time. They make me puke for how fake they are. Oh, tell us the truth. What is going on, Elizondo?
Former Pentagon UFO investigator and whistleblower Lou Elizondo and News Nation special correspondent and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. Lou, do I have it wrong? Or is Grush saying it's not just about technology? It's about organic, extraterrestrial.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. But they're never going to give you the whole truth because the reverse engineering, well, the reverse engineering, it's something that they can't fully disclose because otherwise they will jeopardize, they will jeopardize the national security. And then we have all these evangelicals who are freaking out.
A friend that sent me a text message. I was in a meeting, a weekend meeting, preaching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And he said, Perry, can you give me a call? I have some information that has come to my attention. Of course, when a friend of yours does that you know quite well, you have no idea what information they're talking about. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but there were a large number of pastors that had been invited to go to a certain state to hear some men in the United States government and others share with them a concern that they had. And this particular man, and I'll not name him, and then we may end up doing some teachings with him or having an event at his church. He has a great church. But he said, Perry, what they're about to release, from what we're hearing, there's going to be a release concerning aliens and concerning unidentified flying object spacecraft that some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly.
Now, he was actually talking about his friend, another pastor, Hoagland, who was himself referring to a member of Congress. But when the whole thing came out, then it was a complete mess. This guy is the guy we are talking about. He was basically, saying that, let me show you so you have a clear idea here of how, after the whole scandal came out, and this guy was basically, pushed in a corner. At that point, Ragland had to, go and make a video saying, no, it wasn't true. It was all scared. We will show you that. But first of all, he made this great statement. Check this out.
Somebody like this, like me, talk about.
He was like, oh.
But they're going to get hit. Get ready for the word that's in the book, the flood of glory on the.
Oh, hallelujah.
There are much debate on the book of Enoch, and there's 3 different books of Enoch, but the one Enoch is what it's called. There, in that story of Enoch is the writings and the description of what happened.
And then at one point he goes on here, he's basically trying to.
He said, "Study the days of."
Okay.
Our Creator, 14 feet long because he was such a massive giant.
Okay, here is all.
Nobody can tell me that I didn't see it. I saw it. So what did I see? What is it? Well, if the church will not address it, let me tell you, they're lined up to address it in the world. They're telling you, we got people like Stephen Greer and other people that are not believers that are saying these are the good guys.
Okay, so let me see when he was forced into making a disclaimer of all his previous statements. He was like a beaten up evangelical pastor. Ladies and gentlemen, the beaten up evangelical pastor.
I want to address this video that's going around of me in regards to the meeting of pastors that gathered to discuss the upcoming so-called UFO disclosure. In this video, I stated that a congressman from Missouri had called in to speak to the pastors. And of course, it's being revealed now that that is Congressman Eric Burleson. And he did call in, but he called in to encourage us and to thank us pastors for the work that we're doing. And
Beat
that
him
we are,
up.
speaking the truth to our
I mean, first he said that basically this congressman had warned them about, this apocalyptic stuff. The aliens had created the Bible, this and that, and all the other, and everybody was in a state of panic. And then he retracted everything with a sense of shame.
and pointing them to Jesus to not get distracted of things in the world. In that moment, I began to state things that I have always said. That is my opinion, and my opinion is, and that's exactly all it is my opinion, that when this disclosure comes out, that it will be spun, that it is, that the aliens have always been here, that they seeded us, that they created the first religion.
Now, guys, in reality, if we pick up the video and show you what he said, he basically said a completely different thing. He was basically claiming that,
Hear somebody like this, like me, talk about
that it was like completely different what he was stating.
I'd say, Sandy, I don't want to hear anything about that. I'm a pastor. I got to preach on the cross. I got to preach on grace. I got to preach on mercy. I don't want to hear this. This is a side item. It's a distraction to me. She kept on and she kept on. And ladies and gentlemen, there were times that I was never really meaning it, but now I look back on it, I was mean to my wife. I get emotional thinking about it because I love
But he was mean to his wife.
Yeah, no, it was mean.
That doesn't happen in
But
his
in
house.
any case, he then made a complete U-turn. I was trying to find the actual part where he stated, I can't seem to find it, the exact specific part where he actually made that statement about what this congressman had allegedly said that was shocking, and that everybody in the room was like listening to this. And then now here he is, like a beaten up idiot.
All of that. I should have stopped and paused and said, and this part is my opinion. In the heat of that, I didn't. I led with saying that they had called the pastors, and I went straight into my opinion. So I want to make it very clear that Eric Burleson did not say those words. Those were my words. And I want to.
No, Eric Burleson said those words. That's the whole point here. He said them. He is the guy who was out there with all the various disclosure advocates, the other day. He was there.
Gee.
Documentaries on the subject.
Here, watch. He's the one on the right there, the one with the glasses there on the right. And here he is.
Has a constitutional duty to follow them. And that duty does not vanish because someone stamped a document classified 30 years ago. It does not vanish because some bureaucrat says so. It does not vanish because a program has become so compartmentalized that even elected officials are expected to look the other way. The Constitution gave Congress oversight.
Okay. But stop showing us just a few lights in the sky when you have actual bodies, when you actually have crafts, and you're showing us this. This is part of the latest dump of UFO files.
So boring.
It's like an orb here, orb there.
I don't think people care about it.
Yeah, of course. They're trying. You know what they're trying to do here? They're trying us, one dump after the other, they're boring us into submission, until everybody will be like, who cares? Yeah, whatever. Lights here, light there. Okay. We are close to end today's show. But, I mean, of course, if this is what will have shocked the masses, I mean, this is laughable.
Yeah. People see this when they go outside, so. I mean, you can look up in the sky, and if you look long enough, you might see something.
I want to show, before leaving you, a video from Italy, which shows the opening of a portal, which I find very interesting. Yes, there is a UFO that opens the portal and then goes into the portal.
Yeah.
Check out. Now wait and see what happens. That is a UFO.
Guarda le luci. È strano.
And then the UFO goes in. UAP.
Guarda, sta sparendo. È scomparso.
I repeat, this is in Italy, the opening of a portal and a UFO that then disappears.
That's how it works.
Maybe we're gonna have it later on in some UFO dump or whatever. Anyway, guys, before saying bye-bye to all of you, I want to show the words of Steven Spielberg, because this guy is really the greatest manipulator, and what he says gives it away. Because just check out what he says.
This truth were just known overnight. If the government announced, yes, we have been keeping this from you since 1947, that would mess up a lot of people. And the movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have? And, is God our God only on this planet? Or is God a God for every system where there's civilization, intelligent life, and even developing life?
Okay.
He's such a crackpot.
Spielberg also claimed that if you see this movie, you will change your idea.
I'm tired of these buttholes telling me what I think.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the right to tell me what I think. They don't know what I think, and they don't know how I'm going to react. And they don't know my faith with God either.
Well, guys, I don't want to spoil for you the movie, but in the end,
it's a good movie.
It's a good movie,
and we're not
but it's a movie. It's entertainment.
Well, yeah.
The only thing they could have avoided is to bring out of retirement E.T. on a wheelchair.
Yeah,
come on, man. Come on. At the end, E.T. on a wheelchair. And we were like surrounded for a preview of the movie by old folks from Palm Springs, retirees.
Oh,
and you had this.
It was just.
E.T.
You just be nice.
Coming home. No, he stayed here. He stayed here, and in the end, he comes out of retirement and out, here with the wheelchair. Okay. Well, guys, you know where to get. Christy, what do you think about it? It was entertainment, pure entertainment.
No, it was a good movie, and I was.
But there was
a
clear Jesuit imprint with that former nun involved in it. You had, of course, edited my book when we saw the movie, so you knew what he was trying to push there.
I can say that for myself.
Yeah, what? Please.
I have my own words in my own mouth. Okay. And I can speak.
Okay,
you don't need to talk.
Please. What? Do it.
Okay.
Actually, I give you an introduction.
No, don't do that.
Yes, please. Go.
I don't want an introduction. I just want to sit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christy.
Anyway, I am, I think that if you're grounded in your faith in God, that none of this stuff really matters. It's good to have all this information, but I walk out and I'm like, and to me, it's not my position to judge what God has done. I don't judge either way. I just know my own relationship with God, and it's pretty darn good. So that's what matters to me. I don't care what people think. I don't care about it. I do care
but
about.
But in my book, I'm very clear, though. In my book, I'm very clear about.
And I don't like the way they make you feel when some people don't feel very good.
Yes, but in my book, I make it very clear that if an alien challenges your belief, it's because you lack of belief. That's it.
There's a way that some people have problems. Some people have a lot of problems, and they go. It's just a thing that happens in life. But God's always there, and God will always come and help you. And everybody has God. I don't care who you are.
Somebody says that you're frosty, a bit frosty today. What does it mean?
What does that mean?
Christy's frosty.
My thing is frosty. I'm not frosty.
Please.
And I don't really care what anybody says anyways.
Yeah, that's okay. That's really good. No,
but I'm really happy that I'm here. And
yes, you're back. Christy is back, ladies and gentlemen. And she's back for good. No? My heart is beating.
I don't know. He missed me, I guess. But as long as you don't start yelling again.
No, well, but I mean,
I've been all peaceful.
I had my Alex Jones moment.
I've been so peaceful. I don't want any yelling.
Yeah, no.
He can't yell in the house either. He can never yell.
No,
so.
But I wanted to yell when it comes down to people who still believe in this farce which we have seen in Contact in the Desert. Because, guys, a Contact in the Desert this year, we had people who actually are directly involved with the legacy program, people who are really responsible for this whole cover-up, standing there, you know, and you know, claiming the, you know, like showing themselves like the heroes of the disclosure. People like, for example, Professor Davis in particular, which was involved in that infamous memo, which with an admiral, which I find very interesting, the highly controversial memo of Eric Davis, and he was a Contact in the Desert. Now people would say, well, what is this highly controversial memo saying? Well, here it is. Eric Davis meeting with Admiral Wilson, and this guy, of course, Davis is the one who actually brought out the 4 races, not Hal Puthoff.
That was pretty crazy. I didn't know there was 4 races of aliens. That was crazy.
And here it talks very clear. Roswell, crash, UFO aliens. This was actually taken in by Congress, this memo that is from 2002. You see? Eric Davis meeting with Admiral Wilson. And these people, you know, stand there in front of the public and fake it. People like Jacques Vallée. But Jacques Vallée, guys, who of course was the inspiration for Steven Spielberg in Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
He was the French scientist. He is one of the biggest gatekeepers. So this book is actually the black book of all the gatekeepers. You want to really know?
That's for sure. You got a little stuff in there.
You can get it. Of course, I only have the photograph at the moment, but you can already purchase it. It's available on Amazon. Let me show it once again. Here it is. You can also find my latest article, which talks about it, describes it at leozagami.com. Here it is. There is various formats. There is the flexible format, the paperback, but there is also the hardcover and Kindle. We have really made an effort. Christy has worked really hard, guys, because she's into the editing, but also into the publishing of this book. Mm-hmm. And she was really, you know, I mean, it wasn't an easy task, you know, Christy. Yeah. But in the end, I want to also thank our graphic designer, Vincenzo Viceversa. Vincenzo, wow. Vincenzo did a great job. He's the guy.
He gave us a lot of problems.
The guy who has done all my my book covers. Of course, Steven Spielberg is a member of the Jewish study group, the mega group, which I talk about in this book. Les Wexner's group. Let's not forget that. Steven Spielberg, the guy who says, oh, I don't know those kind of people. He's all in it with the military industrial complex. He's been in it for a very long time. And then we have this book, volume 12, in which I talk about already the Jesuit astronomers, especially their influence in China. Okay, guys, we will see next week. Christy.
Yes, we'll be here.
We'll be here. It's great to have Christy back. I tell you. It's great to have Christy back. I miss you, Christy.
It's great to be back.
Huh?
It's great to be back.
Cool.
That's great. Are we doing Illuminati? That's so cool. I like that. Illuminati. And then he does the montage at the end. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are we gonna dance? Oh, I get to dance to Illuminati. That's crazy.